Just like Beyoncé dropping an album out of the blue, Omega dropped a watch out of the blue, the Speedmaster Chronoscope in 43mm. So here it is, the Speedmaster Chronoscope in 43mm. That might sound big to you, but might I remind you that the dark side of the moon is 44.25mm and the regular Speedmaster moon watch is 42mm, so it's right in between. And this watch is a little bit thinner than the moon watch. The moon watch is 13.58 for the Hasselite, this one is 12.8mm. So on the wrist it actually wears quite nice. So let's talk about this watch. The Chronoscope name is not new to Omega. They used it in the past for the pocket watches and very early wristwatches. And even more recently, in the early 2000s, they used it for their DeVille collection. But it is new for the Speedmaster. Omega decided to bring the name back and use the Speedmaster design. On the Speedmaster Chronoscope, you will find two extra scales. You all know the tachymeter scale, it's on the bezel. There are two extra scales on the dial, one for pulsations and one for telemeter. Pulsations is to measure the heart rate. So you start the chronograph while measuring the first heartbeat, you stop the chronograph while measuring the 30th heartbeat, and then you know the heart rate because the second hand will indicate on the pulsation scale what your heart rate is. Then there's the telemeter scale. Often brands use an example of thunderstruck. You see the lightning, you press start, you hear the thunder, you press stop, and the second hand will indicate the distance between you and the thunderstruck. Now, of course, this telemeter was not designed for thunderstruck and measuring the distance between you and the thunderstruck. It was designed for military operations to measure the difference between you and artillery fire. So if anyone shoots at you, use it. Omega used these scales before on watches, especially in the 30s on wristwatches, on the caliber 33.3 pieces. You would find these pulsation scales and telemeter scales as well. And later on, Omega did some museum pieces for the museum collection where you can find these chronographs with scales on the dial as well. However, Omega reintroduced them on the Speedmaster Chronoscope. As I said before, the Chronoscope name was also used for the DeVille collection, but that was just a chronograph, it didn't feature these scales. There are 7 variations in total of the new Speedmaster Chronoscope 43mm. The blue one, the silver one, then there's a panda dial one. Both are available on this beautiful metal bracelet with a new extension in the clasp that we haven't seen before. And they come on the leather strap. And on top of that, the 7th version is the bronze gold version. I like these. I like how they wear. They are thin. It's 43mm, so they fit nicely on the wrist. But that bronze gold, that's the one I'd go for because that reminds me most of the 33.3 caliber models from the 30s. Now for the boring specifications. As said, the watch is 43mm. It's 12.8mm thick, so a little bit thinner than a Speedmaster moon watch. And the lug size is the same, so it doesn't wear that much larger than the trusty old moon watch. The caliber inside is 9908, a Master Chronometer movement, hand wound. So it's based on a 9900 movement that you will find in Speedmaster Racing, but hand wound, 60 hours of power reserve, coaxial escapement, and of course anti-magnetic up to 15,000 Gauss. All other specifications about this watch, including some close-ups of the beautiful new bracelet with extension clasp, can be found on fratellowatches.com. So how do I feel about this watch? Well, I'm a moonwatch collector, so the Chronoscope is a bit off my radar. But I can imagine that if you just want to have a nice, classy looking watch with raised Arabic numerals, extra scales on the dial that link back to the caliber 33.3 from Omega from the 30s, I think it's really a nice watch. It has the case that we're all familiar with, the Speedmaster case, and the new bracelet, and the beautiful in-house developed hand-wound movement. Personally, I would go for the bronze gold. That comes at a certain price, €14,000 or 14.100 in US dollars. And the steel watch with the steel bracelet has a price, has a price of €8,600 or 86.50 in US dollars. I hope you liked this video. Make sure to subscribe to our channel and follow us on fratellowatches.com.